Well, good afternoon, friends. I'm Ken Busby, your cultural czar, and um, a very proud board member of the Tulsa Symphony Orchestra. And I'm so pleased to be here today and to have our musician moment with our principal guest conductor, Maestro Daniel Hege. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, Ken.
How are you,
And
sir? And everyone.
good,
Yeah, good.
doing well, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we appreciate you taking some time to share with us today. These musician moments are a really fun idea, I think, of just really letting people get to know more about the various aspects of our world, our orchestra, and really getting to know the people. So let's just let them get to know you a little bit. So you are our principal guest conductor. We're very excited about that. I understand you just renewed your contract with us for a few more years, so that's excellent. That must mean you like us a little bit.
I like you guys a lot. I really like you guys a lot. And I think from the first time I conducted the Tulsa Symphony back in 2007, it was on a Halloween program, kind of a family show in the evening. But right away from the beginning, I felt like this was a really nice connection. I enjoyed working with the orchestra, and the rehearsals went very well. The concert went very well, and then I was coming back pretty regularly after that time as a guest conductor, a regular guest conductor, and then it was a wonderful invitation to become principal guest conductor in 2015.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, it's been wonderful having you. I've certainly enjoyed getting to know you, and when we do our pre-concert interviews, those are always great fun. You always have. I'm always amazed just how much you know.
Well, well, it's probably because you set the bar so low. So, no, I'm kidding.
Thank you, Daniel. Well, good to see you too. It's been nice visiting with you today. Uh huh. um,
I think it's just over time. We just the conductors, all of us musicians, we spend so much time learning our craft and trying to get better at it, and we're curious about how things work. And so, I think, well, at least for me, I'll speak for myself. I really enjoy talking about the music and the things that I know and the conclusions I have up to this point. Not that they won't change at some point,
sure.
but I enjoy talking about it. I enjoy having the interviews with you before the
Yeah,
concerts.
they're great. So when in your evolution did you know you wanted to be a conductor?
I'm still waiting for that
Okay.
moment
Okay.
to, to dawn on me. And what I know that sounds silly, but what I mean by that is when I finished undergraduate school, I had majors in history and also in music. And at that point, I simply felt like I needed to know more about music. And I felt like the next best step would be for me to get an aerial picture of it. That is, really understand how the music was written. One could have pursued composition to do that as well. But conducting really seemed like the right thing for me, because I felt like with the little experience that I had
Hmm.
conducting ensembles in undergraduate, that I had kind of a personality for being able to conduct. And I enjoyed looking at scores and taking them apart, looking
Okay.
at the orchestral score and trying to break it down into the very small,
Hmm.
minute bits and learning how it all worked. And I thought that if I studied conducting as a master's student to get a master's in conducting, I would learn all the theory and all the score reading and everything I would need to know to just become a better musician.
Cool.
And so what I'm trying to get to is that it was curiosity based.
Hmm.
It wasn't like I had this light bulb moment. I want to be a conductor.
Right.
I never really had that moment. I simply was very curious and interested in learning more about music, and I thought learning to conduct and learning to read those scores would be a path to getting there, to
Hmm.
to just simply understanding music, making me a better musician.
Sure.
And after I got my degree, I had some success
Hmm.
winning auditions,
Right.
and audition led to the next audition, led to the next audition, and that has carried me through my life as a conductor. And of course, I love conducting. I enjoy it very much. I
You
enjoy
can tell.
studying the music, and
Right.
I enjoy working with the musicians in the rehearsals. And of course, I love the performances because I'm sharing it with the audience, and it's just a great endeavor to be able to crawl into the minds of these great composers and try to make something ring so true as their music. So Yes, I love it. I feel like I've chosen something that works well for my personality and for how I function in the world. But I never did have that like lightning bolt moment where
Sure.
I wanted that. Now I did have a lightning bolt moment of wanting to be a musician or having my world be music,
Mm-hmm.
and that was when I was 9 years old and I heard the Goldberg variations of Bach played by Glenn Gould. I put on an old LP, and that was definitely a light bulb moment when I said music is magical and it can take us to any sphere of existence we want. And so that kind of dawning on me happened. But that was just music in general, and it was with a very subtle piano work. Well, subtle and incredibly expressive too, but it's not it wasn't like Rachmaninoff's second piano concerto.
Right.
It was the solo work by Bach, and I was so taken with it that I decided to go in that musical direction.
That probably answers this next question, but have you ever considered what you would be doing right now if you weren't conducting?
Oh, I haven't really had to think about that.
Right.
But I think if I didn't do conducting or music, I mean, I might be teaching music. But I think if I weren't in music, let's say, I just went some other direction, it might be history, like be a history professor or teacher, because I enjoyed that very much, and that was one of my majors for my bachelor's degree.
Right.
And I was fascinated by that. I spent all kinds of hours reading and researching topics and trying to draw large conclusions about why history moved in this way or that way. So that fascinated me. And so I probably would have gone that direction.
That's sort of neat. Yeah. So I know, in addition to working with the Tulsa Symphony, you work with a number of orchestras, plus guest conducting around the world. Is there such a thing as downtime for you?
I try to have downtime in the summers a little bit. It used to be that my summers were always busy too, and I had only maybe 2 weeks out of the entire year. Out of 52 weeks, I'd have maybe 2 weeks that were free. That's how it used to be. It's not like that now. I try to actually protect the summers more, and I try to build in time. My schedules are usually created about a year and a half to 2 years in advance.
Right.
So I can start to look where certain weeks are they're getting a little bit too much, and I can talk with my manager a little bit and say, okay, if we can build in a week here or there, that would be great. And so I've learned to try to create weeks where I don't have to be somewhere else, or where I don't have to be rehearsing the orchestra. During those, quote, down weeks, though, I'm usually preparing for the next thing that's coming up. So well, I will spend sometimes, if I have a week at home, I will spend the whole week, every day, and up to 8 or 10 hours at the piano, just working on scores and trying to learn them. Just like it would be a regular 9 to 5 job for somebody, or going to rehearsal. So I need those so-called down weeks. And what I mean is not rehearsing the orchestra that week or performing, just to work and study. Right. Which is very important for every conductor to have.
Sure. Huh.
But when I don't have, and when I have weeks or the conducting weeks, I like to simply read or spend time with my daughters, or spend time in nature or something like that. Yeah.
That's nice. That's good. And I know you're going to give us a little demonstration of how you do what you do, how you prepare for conducting as we wrap up our time together. But have you ever had a concert that you were preparing for that you thought, why in the world did I get into this?
There may have been moments when I was in the rehearsal process where I felt like I was wrestling with some great god, and it didn't really have to do with the orchestra's playing of it or anything. It was really with me grappling with the complexity of the work and really making sense of it. And those were a little bit more in my younger years. But I have to say that always, by the time of the last rehearsal and getting into the performance, I didn't feel that way at all. Okay. It was only only in the preparation and then maybe an early rehearsal or a second rehearsal in, I'll feel like, oh my word, this is really, there's so much. And that's actually a great thing to realize in a sense, because it makes you come face to face with some of the realities of putting the music together with such a large ensemble and everything. And then you have to dig really deep, not only to kind of resolve any musical issues, but just from a psychological perspective, your own psyche, and actually finding the group psychology to get everyone else on board to perform this work to the best of their ability.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility.
It is, and that's how I've always actually thought about conducting. You know, I've had numerous people who have come up to me over the years, usually people who don't actually understand what it is, what I do, and they'll say, "Oh, it must feel so great to have all that power up there." You know, you're up there leading, and they have to follow you. And I oftentimes I don't know how to react at first, because it's such a foreign concept to me to think of it that way. I think, and I'm just kind of struck silent, and I think power. No, it's not power. It's responsibility. It
right.
is. I have a responsibility to the art form itself, to the composer, to the work. I have a responsibility to the musicians, of course. I have to help enable them to play their very best and to have a wonderful, great product for the audience, for myself, for the musicians, so that we can all feel like we've done our very best to perform the work, to move people, to touch them in a way that they otherwise can't be, cannot be. So it's a huge responsibility that yes.
Well, you truly do it masterfully. We have so enjoyed having the relationship between you and our symphony. I talked to many members of our orchestra, and they really have a great respect for you, and they really love what you're able to get out of them as musicians. So, I mean, it's a really, I'm sure there's tensions, I'm sure there's all of that, but it's like what the final product, as you say, is really remarkable, and the audience obviously feels it, and you can see the joy in your face when you're conducting, you know.
Oh, thank you, Ken.
Seriously.
Thanks. Thank you. I never even know what I actually look like while I'm conducting, and I've seen pictures and I think I look like that. These are things we don't know because we don't have the camera turned on ourselves. Usually, we're just simply either emoting or thinking or trying to be helpful in a way that we think will help the musicians in the concert, of course. And in the concert, we're as conductors, we're basically reminding everyone and trying to make a focus on all the things we've worked on, and if we want a spontaneous moment, how we can do that. And I feel like the Tulsa Symphony musicians are very attuned to being in the moment while we're performing, which is so incredibly important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, I want to thank you for sharing a few minutes with us today and giving us some insights into you and your world. And now I think we are going to invite our audience to sort of sit back and let you give us a little tutorial on what it's like for you to prepare for conducting and how you and how your thought process works. That may be overstating it, I don't know, but something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be happy to do that.
Okay, well, thank you. So, Maestro Daniel Hege, our principal guest conductor of the Tulsa Symphony, thanks so much for sharing your time with us today on our Musician Moment.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it.
Oh, and we'll look forward to seeing you again in person soon.
Yes, I hope so. I can't wait for that.
Me too. Me too. Take care now.
Okay, you too.
Hello, Tulsa Symphony fans. This is Daniel Hege, principal guest conductor, and I thought I'd just show you a little bit what I do when I'm preparing for rehearsals and concerts, and I thought I would choose Beethoven's 7th Symphony, which we're planning on doing this fall with the Tulsa Symphony. And most of my time is spent either at the piano or with the score in my lap or at a desk, because I mark my scores heavily. You can see right here, even from the very first page, the introduction of Beethoven's 7th. You can see all the introduction through here where the instruments are on each line. So you have the flutes, the oboes, the clarinets, the bassoons. I have everybody's part in this score, in my music, and I have to follow each bar like this goes by all at the same time. And so I am responsible for knowing as much as I can about all of their parts and making it all work together. And in addition to this, I have to form a vision that I feel like really fulfills what Beethoven wanted or what the work has as an inevitability. So at the beginning, we have the introduction, and then it breaks into a famous dance-like theme. And one thing I want to say, it's remarkable about Beethoven, as many other great composers, but we can find it in almost all of Beethoven's works, is that he takes into account all of the human emotions, not just the more simple emotions of happy and sad, but all of the in-between emotions. And in this particular symphony, the Seventh Symphony in A major, the outer movements radiate such joy, almost frenetic, over-the-top joy. And even the third movement, the scherzo, is very joke-like, which is what scherzo actually means in Italian. And the second movement is, for many people, one of their favorite movements of all of Beethoven's music, because it is very somber in nature and has a certain kind of repetition. It's like a slow dance. In fact, Wagner called the Seventh Symphony of Beethoven the apotheosis of the dance, because all of the movements in one way or another are a dance. So I look for the character in the music. I have to learn all of the notes and look at all the dynamics and look at why Beethoven made certain compositional choices. And then I try to resolve them as best I can so that I can work with the orchestra and then, of course, bring that music to the audience so we have this shared wonder of art. And that's a little glimpse into what I do as a conductor. Thank you so much for joining me here, and I hope to see you very soon.